at the end of the last episode on Sam's Skyline, we had completed the intake pipes, the titanium intake pipes, and I'd mentioned that to complete the downpipes, I was going to make a kind of jig of the engine off the car, and that would allow me to do those wastegate recircs, plumbing them back into the downpipes a lot easier than trying to do it all on the car where there's not really any room. So I've started on making a frame. Got like the purge block I would use to weld the head flange with, and I've basically just bolted it to an to a steel box section frame. And what I'm going to do now is basically assemble the whole kit as it is on the car, and then probably try and weld in some kind of things in the way that would be in the way if they were on the car. Like the engine mount is one that kind of sits underneath that front turbo, and there's a few other bits and bobs as well. Like I want to try and recreate where the chassis leg position is. So yeah, it's just a case of getting it all bolted on there to start with, and then seeing what room we've got left to work with for those wastegates. Right, turbos, manifolds, downpipes and wastegates all attached to my frame. It's getting a bit wobbly, there's quite a bit of weight here. Before I go ahead and start adding bits in for where the engine mount will be, for where the chassis leg will be, for where the subframe is, for where the bulkhead is, I want to kind of add in as much kind of detail as I can without also making it totally overcomplicated. Before I do that, I'm going to go and put the wastegates in and then try it all back on the car again. The reason for doing that is if I get the wastegates in and I can kind of locate them all properly on the jig, I won't need to be as specific with where I put the kind of fake engine mount, fake chassis leg, fake subframe, because I know all of this lot fits. So then what I can do is in the future when we need to reproduce it, as long as we reproduce it with more or less to the plus minus a millimetre, it's going to fit fine because I know I've got plenty of clearance on all of these parts as is. The parts actually have the tightest clearances against other parts here, not necessarily against the bulkhead, chassis leg, engine mount, and things like that. So it's far easier for me to go ahead and put the wastegates into the downpipes now, check it back on the car. If it fits, I can then add in all that extra detail and go from there. So I know that this one here, we haven't got a lot of room. So I'm just pretty much just going to come straight out the wastegate, straight into a flex bellow and straight into this Y piece. It'll probably run kind of down here a little bit. So I might not fully weld that one until I've got the rest of the downpipe created. And then this one around the back here. This one I think, I'm not sure. We've not really got a lot of straight parts along the back of the downpipe here. So there's no easy place to put it back in, but I do want it to kind of be as short as possible. I would like, again, ideally, to match up with all the boost control side of things, you want everything to be as equal as possible. So the equal length elbow from the collector to the wastegate, as equal as possible from the wastegate back into the downpipe, because then that keeps all the EGTs across both manifolds and both turbos as similar as possible. Obviously a lot of that will be tuned out during the engine mapping process, but any kind of hardware things we can do now to make that process easier are better. So again, I think I'll probably end up putting it in here between this 90-degree bend I've got and here, because I know that the oil return for this turbo is probably gonna slip through there. So if I bring it any further down, it's gonna make that oil return a little bit harder, because the oil return on the block is about here. So yeah, I'll start with this one, and then we'll put a hole in there after. So we've made a bit of progress on this now. Got holes cut in the downpipes and got some bends cut. This one was quite tight. I knew it was going to be. We didn't have a lot of room to get that out and back in. Normally I wouldn't like to go straight into a downpipe like that. I would like to kind of go down with the flow of it. Kind of like, obviously, because the gas is going to be coming down here like that, and then that's coming in at a right angle. It's not ideal. In these kinds of situations, you'll almost always have some kind of compromise. Realistically, it's not really a compromise that's going to affect the overall performance, especially on the smaller turbos. The 6.2 and 6.758s, you know, it's really not going to be, you know, much of a problem. The 7.163 turbos, if we ever kind of do a kit with those, maybe as you start to run more power, you need more kind of downpipe because you're getting through more air. But you know, it is what it is. We can't make the downpipe any longer because we're going to hit the floor, and we can't make it, you know, any taller because we hit bonnet. So there's only so much room you can get in all this pipe work. But that's the kind of rear turbo one. I just need to polish these bends up, and then kind of weld it up and then weld it in. It'll need sanding out on the inside as well. And then I've done the same for the rear turbo. So we'll just flip this round and show you the back. So these are the pieces for the rear one. That'll go up in there like that. And I've managed to kind of coat this one out a lot nicer. This one kind of goes a lot more with the flow of the downpipe. But yeah, that'll just fit in there like that. So yeah, it's just a case of welding them all up now. So I've got these all welded up now, both the front and the rear one. Got the rear one tacked in, ready to weld. So what I'll do now is I'll take that whole downpipe off and weld it. And then this front one, what I've done is, because I don't want any portion of tube sticking through into here, because obviously that will affect the flow, I've already got a nice tight fit on that hole. And then I've basically just worked that in, so it's nice and fits perfectly. And I've just scribed around it with a knife. That's given me a really good line to cut off to. And then because I've got 1.5mm wall thickness tube, basically I want to be like 2 millimeters over that line, further that way when I cut it out and sand it round. And that will leave me with something where basically nothing pokes through on the inside. I will be able to sand it out a little bit. Obviously I won't be able to with this one because I can't get into the pipe to sand it. It's too far in the middle. So I've already kind of had to make sure that one is you know, as close as I can get it. But yeah, I just need to trim that down now, and then I can tack that one in. Then it's just a case of taking both the downpipes off and welding them. Right, Got both them welded up now. Obviously purge the inside whilst welding them. These are quite a strength critical part really, because wastegates tend to rattle a lot as the valve is opening and closing inside, and obviously the fact it's bolted on the engine block, it's quite a heavy thing. They do tend to rattle a lot, so that's again a key reason why we need the bellows in there to try and prevent any breakages. It also makes fitment a little bit easier. We've basically got you know, 5 joints here, and we need them all to line up. Yeah, we've got the 2 downpipes, we've got where the 2 downpipes join, and then the 2 wastegates. So this is a hell of a job trying to get all this to line up. As you do every joint, it really needs quite a lot of thinking about to get right. But we're pretty much there now. We have still got the wastegates to actually weld onto the manifolds, but you know, we shouldn't really get any movement now. It shouldn't cause us any issues. The only reason I haven't done that yet is because I haven't had a chance to kind of have the manifolds separate again. So that'll be one of the next jobs we do. We'll probably do that before we put it all back on the car. And then we need to figure out how we're going to get into this flex section here. So this is where I've kind of mocked up for the flex to go. That's where it sits nice on the car, just kind of down the lower half of the bulkhead. So we now need to get from there to there. I can move it down a little bit, which will make it easier. So it's going to be a bit of playing around. But yeah, we'll cover that in the next episode. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.